Mark Holton, welcome to the show, man. Sports hip hop with DJ Mad Max, Life 365, iHeartRadio. We have one of the all-time cult great actors out there who's been in Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Teen Wolf, Leprechaun, League of Their Own. So many great films, memorable films people remember from their childhood, and it'll live on forever. And he joins me here, Mark Holton. Mark, what's going on, man? Welcome to the show. How's everything going?
Everything's going good, man. It looks like I'm going to have a fun fall. I got a couple of things to plug. I can do them now or later.
Yeah, either you could start off with it if you want, since we're already on it.
Okay, let's just do that. Labor Day weekend, I will be in Parsippany, New Jersey, at the Hilton at an event called Lead East. It's their 40th anniversary. It's the world's biggest and greatest classic rock and highest quality classic car event. There's going to be 34 live bands over that weekend, 5 DJs inside and out, 100% American, 100% family. An old-fashioned drive-in movie where there's a rumor going around that there's going to be a screening of one of those classic films that you just mentioned. And yours truly will be there to announce it and do questions and answers afterward. And there's also going to be an indoor theater. Don't know about that, but it's going to be geared more toward the kids. I think that's one of the things that a lot of people that they think about going to a car show, and then you're like, well, what am I going to do with a wife and kids? And I was like, I only got a car show and look at a bunch of chrome. Well, now there's stuff to do. And it's going to be a mind blower because I love cars. I love classic rock, so it's going to be cool.
Who's your favorite classic rock artist per se?
Oh yeah, we'd be here all night.
Or all day.
You said your top 20,
Yeah.
of all time. Okay, I'm gonna throw one out there because it's just easy. It came to me. Kansas, the group Kansas.
Okay.
Wayward Son. I saw their 30th anniversary concert of Left Overture, and it was a mind blower. I just it's just one of those things that I just keep going back to, like Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. It's just I go, oh my God, it's been like months. I could just go sit down and groove to that,
Yeah.
So.
And you also had the opportunity to work with the Ramones for the music video back in the day. So there's some more rock history.
Everybody asked me about that. I think I met Richie Ramone in New Jersey at a con. I don't think he knew who the hell I was or where he was. But no, I didn't actually meet them. They just had a camera crew show up at a studio where I was working. The program was I don't know if it was for HBO. It was one of the cable companies. It was a Martin Mull comedy series called White America, and it was a spoof on white Americans. And Harry Shearer directed it. And I played a cop. I was just standing around, and all of a sudden this camera crew came up and said, you mind if we get some shots of you, maybe walk around you? Could you point your nightstick at us? Whatever one. Do you have permission to be here? Yeah, it's cool. I said, okay, well, yeah, knock yourself out. Forgot about it. A couple of minutes later, people are going, man, I love your rock video. I'm like, what? So I was just oblivious. I'm sure they mentioned it's for the Ramones or whatever, but my mind was, on the job at hand at the time. Yeah. So no, I didn't get to hang with the band, and okay, I don't have any crazy stories about it, but it is kind of cool that I, appeared in that. So thank you for bringing that up.
Of course, and because I cover hip hop on my show, so you worked with hip hop royalty Queen Latifah on My Life.
Absolutely. And I don't know why she didn't continue acting. Maybe she is going to pick that career up again, because I thought she was one of the best performances in the movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
That's my big connection with the whole hip hop world, pretty
Yeah.
much.
But we're here to celebrate you tonight and all the work that you've done. But I want to take it back to something that you brought up earlier, even before we get into your high school career in which you got into acting, was this drive-in theater. Your first experience in a theater as far as horror goes was The Pit and the Pendulum with Vincent Price.
Yeah. It was a matinee. All the kids had lied to their parents and said, "Oh, it's a classic. It's Edgar Allan Poe, the poem. We're learning about him in school, Mom." And of course, it was just a sea of kids. And back then, all the film was on 35 millimeter, and it was if it hung up and it had that hot bulb on it, it would just look like, and it was just this multi-color. It looked like something you would see out of a 60s acid trip movie. And all of a sudden the sound, of course, at the same time goes. So at this moment, it was at a pivotal moment when the pendulum is like slicing into the guy's stomach, and all the kids were riveted on it. And all of a sudden, this thing melted with the big concussive sound, and the entire theater just went ape shit. Kids are just like, ah! It's kind of like Large Marge in Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Yeah.
Times 1,000 or a couple of hundred anyway. But
so that was pretty much the biggest reaction. It wasn't the movie itself. It was what happened there.
No.
Yeah.
No, it was an unintended consequence and failure, whatever. So, but
yeah, it happens. But
yeah.
acting in your career early on in ninth grade, because that's how you started, that you were having a poor grade in English, and you took this program in which you won the contest at, and you gave a Patton's Address to His Men. But this was for extra credit for English. You took it.
Yeah.
You won the award.
Yeah, it was an intramural
auditory
contest, and if you entered it, people were doing like Martin Luther King and other great figures from history, their speeches. And I had seen the movie Patton. I had my little vinyl copy of it, and it had Patton's speech. And I thought, they're going to force me to do this. That's what I'm going to do. And it really didn't dawn on me how much of a chance I was taking presenting this. The language is pretty rough if you haven't heard the speech. Laced with profanities, which in school, especially from a freshman, and in an auditorium, did not go over big with the principal and the vice principal. But I don't know. I thought, I'm dead. They're going to call my parents, and my ass is out of here. So the vice principal over the intercom, Mark Holton, come to the vice principal's office. Whoop, this is it. And I walked in and I sat down, and of course he did the make you sweat a little bit for about 30 seconds a bit. And he goes, "Mr. Holton, we don't use that language at the school." I said, "Yes, sir. But, it was in the speech, didn't come from me." And he goes, "All right, that's all right. Go back to class." Okay. Somehow I got away with it and ended up winning the damn thing. I've got like a little gold medal somewhere in there. And that's pretty much is when it put the hooks on me, standing in front of a live audience and the reactions to the speech. And then, it just kind of snowballed from there with class plays and then tournaments. Ended up going to nationals my junior year. Got a scholarship to a small university and did theater there, and then the outdoor drama during the summer. Then the outdoor drama would have workshop productions. So I was able to keep, pretty busy, learning for quite a few years there.
You used to go up to New York a lot when you were younger as well to watch all the Broadway plays. I'm kind of interested because I know the whole story when you say that the bumper to bumper. I've heard you give that speech hundreds of times and me studying your interviews. But I'm kind of curious, why didn't you take the Broadway play route? Because you were so fascinated by going watching some of the greats perform live on stage in New York.
Oh, it just I just didn't think that I was ready for that psychologically. Not, when I graduated high school, I was only 17 years old.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, I'm from a small town. And now that I've seen the Big Apple and also priced the Big Apple, I'm going, wow, and then, upperclassmen or whatever would have, stories or whatever that they would tell, I'm paying X amount for a broom closet. And I was robbed. Some kid 8-year-old boy stuck a shotgun in my face and took all my bar tips. And I'm going, oh, really? Okay, maybe I want to go west. And I had a connection. And so, I just decided maybe that would be the best way to start. Because in the back of my mind, I always wanted to go back. I always wanted to do a Broadway play, but it just wasn't in the cards. There was theater on the West Coast too, though.
Yeah.
So,
how about now? Because I know you hung up your spurs. You say you quit the business, you got back into it as far as Leprechaun Origins. I know the whole story. Do you still have that in your mind that down the road that you may consider getting into live theater play?
Maybe I thought about doing some a one-man show, or kind of an evening with an historical character, something like that. It would have to be a small cast of people that I really wanted to work with in a play that I was really interested in doing. And it'd have to be in the right theater at the right time. So yeah, I'm open to anything. But if it happens, it happens. If my phone rings tomorrow and somebody says, "Hey, you want to do a film?" Well, there's people that are just, they're just waiting on other people. And that's just kind of how Hollywood works. Everybody's dependent on somebody else for, everything's got to fall in line. You've got to, synchronicity has to work out in your favor. And then, when you get a production going, the actors are way down on the food chain there. So you might hear back from somebody going, "Hey, guess what? Oh, I don't really remember what was." That can happen too. So we'll see what happens. I mean, it's all, in God's hands at this point. I'm having the time of my life going to events like Lead East and hanging out and signing autographs.
It's fun.
It's great. I was completely oblivious for most of my life until probably about 2000. Well, after I had done the last Leprechaun, which would have been 2018 or something. I was oblivious to the fact that there were people out there that wanted to know about me and meet me. They were still watching the movie. And now it had gone generations deep. I mean, we're talking about grandkids that are showing up at this thing, with are these, is this your grandfather? Oh yeah. And here's my mom and dad, and here's my grandparents. And we watched the film before we came down to meet you. And it just blows my mind. Because at the time when history is occurring, you don't always realize what's going on until much later. And like I said, synchronicity, it just happened that I had a series of films that were part of the American childhood. And back then you went to Blockbuster, you bought a copy, or you kept going back to Blockbuster, or you saw it in a theater. That was pretty much it. There weren't a lot of people with even cable vision at that point, not nationwide anyway. So so yeah, and then people knew me from that, so they would continue when they would see something during the 90s or the 2000s or 2018. I'm sure there are people actually that have contacted me on Instagram that keep asking me when Stream is coming out. Another shameless plug, but Stream, like row your boat, or streaming service, is the name of it. It's coming out this fall. I've got a definite on that. It's from the guys that brought you the Terrifier movies, the Terrifier team, and it's got a pretty good cast. Actually, it's a really good cast, because usually, in this genre, you don't have this many, seasoned actors that are showing up, in the cast.
Yeah.
You got Jeffrey Combs, of course,
The
as the
animator.
lead. Danielle Harris, Dee Wallace, Tim Reed, Tony Todd, Daniel Roebuck, Dave Sheridan, Terry Kaiser, and people like Mark Holton making appearances or whatever. And so I've been waiting on that film to come out for quite a while. We shot that during the COVID epidemic in a hotel in right next to a battlefield park that you might have heard about, called Gettysburg.
Mm-hmm.
So in the middle of COVID, they had originally told me they were going to shoot it in upstate New York, and then COVID hit, and I thought, I'll never hear from those guys ever again. And all of a sudden, they called me and said, "Guess what? We have a perfect area to shoot. Everything we need to shoot is inside that hotel. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to send you a COVID kit. You're going to shove it up your nose and send it back to the lab. And if you're clear, then you're going to hop on a plane." So, I got off the plane, went in the hotel, and stayed there during the whole time that it took for me to get the role, the film in the can, so to speak. And then when I left, I went straight back to the airport, and it was just like a little city of movie makers that were, contained in the COVID compound. That was kind of neat, because you get to know people, like,
Yeah. And you saw Paul Reubens.
I guess. Huh?
You saw Paul Reubens on your trip back from South Africa, because that's when he really told you about the conventions.
I did, and I credit him for really getting me interested and helping me figure out what the hell was going on. But yeah, it was over 40 hours of air travel. And in 2015, I moved back to Oklahoma, to a small town where things are freer. And being in New York, you might appreciate that now. But the last little leg that I had was from Dallas to Tulsa. And the plane, of course, needed a part. So I went into whatever club, and I thought, my God, I've been in the air for over 40 hours, and I had, like, all black clothing on, and the little fuzzies stuck to it, and my hair is going. I must have looked like I just climbed out of a dumpster. And I thought, right, I'm not going to get a whiskey. I wouldn't make it back on the plane. I just need a little caffeine, but my stomach's not going to, go with the coffee. So I'll get some tea. So I went toward this area where they had all the teas in the world. And as I'm walking by this couch facing away from me, I hear this voice, and I thought, I know that voice. And then I caught just a glimpse of the side of this guy's face, and I went, I think that might be Paul Reubens. So walked around, got my tea, and came around to the other side where I could see who it was. And that's who it was. It was Paul Reubens, sitting there talking with his entourage or whatever. He had just finished a big convention in Dallas, and was just waiting to get on a plane like me and get back home. And I walked up and I said, "Paul," and he looked at the people around him. He didn't recognize me, because I mean, why should I just appear out of nowhere, right? And he goes, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "I don't know. What are you doing here?" we had a laugh or whatever. We talked a little bit, and we started communicating a little more often than we had in the past. You know, more than like birthdays and Christmas and stuff like that. But yeah, he started filling me in on the whole thing and what to expect and what to do, what not to do, whatever. Which isn't really, you can't really tell somebody a lot. It's mainly you got to show up and go through it to figure out what's going on. And I had never attended one. Duh. Anyway.
Yeah, and he was the one that he also gave you a spotlight at one of them, I heard.
Oh, that was a screening of Pee-wee's Big Adventure. And as COVID was starting to hit, and this wasn't too far after that meeting at the airport, in the grand scheme of things. But he was showing a 30th anniversary film in the most beautiful, ornate, grand theaters from coast to coast. And he had started on the West Coast, and he was, going across the whole country on this anniversary tour. And if you showed up, and you got backstage access. And after the screening began with the live on MTV video, which I had never seen, of course, I was on my way in the theater, right? As everybody else was showing up and getting videoed. So that was just a mind blower to see that. And then, of course, the film and seeing the film with Texans. So you can imagine the Alamo scene or whatever. It was rowdy, loud and rowdy. And afterward, he came out on stage and did a little comedy and talked and told some really interesting stories that I had never heard from him before. He saved all the good stuff for the tour, I guess. But at some point he mentioned, and nobody knew who I was. It's just tucked away in the audience. But he knew I was there, and so he spotlighted me or whatever. And oh my God! And I stood up in this beautiful audience or whatever. They were just pumped and thrilled with the movie and with him already or whatever. They gave me a standing ovation. And I'm sure my wife was going, but it was really cool. It had some interesting reactions after that kind of primed me for really emotional moments that happen, believe it or not. And there's at least one at every event, but this particular one, it kind of clued me in. Okay, I get it now.
You were part of my childhood, the guy that came up to you. Yeah.
And it just wrecked me. I don't know why, but I had to just keep my shit together till I could get outside and light a cigarette, which I no longer do. I lost the cigarettes, pick up cigars, and I don't inhale them. Best thing I ever did. So, one of the best things I ever did, but health-wise, anyway. But anyway, we've gone from Dallas to cigars, and where do you want to go from here?
But Pee-wee, it's a classic film, Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Your scene, everyone always remembers your scene. You'll be sorry, Pee-wee Herman. I know you are, but what am I? But with getting the role, because I want to connect all this together with you going out to LA and you eventually moving in with your friend, and your friend's wife was an assistant to casting director at Paramount. So she was able to get you to read lines and get you in the room.
Well, she was actually at another studio. She actually helped me get my
SAG card.
SAG card, yeah. I already had my after card by then, but I needed my SAG card, and that opened up a whole new door to agents and other things, which eventually led to my meeting at an audition at Warner Brothers for Pee-wee's Big Adventure. So yeah, I credit her. If she hadn't done that, and the people that were watching me read day after day with people that were auditioning for the cast of this television series, then they never would have written me a role and put me in the final episode. And that way it was kind of like, you came in here and we like your stuff. We're pretty much going to hand you a national television program appearance and get you your SAG card. So it's, my whole life has just been one miraculous event after another. It really has. I mean, there's been, everybody has ups and downs in their lives, but when you look at it in retrospect, things weren't just as rotten as I thought they were at one time. Things were pretty good. I mean, things were amazing. And, even though I didn't know what was going on, God was taking care of me. He was just setting things up with it. Like I said, the synchronicity of, okay, this is why you're doing this now. You may not know, you'll figure it out one day if you'll just listen. Well, here we are.
Here we are all these years later, celebrating your role, Francis Buxton. Classic. As I said, people remember it. I know you are, but what am I? You really seen Pee-wee, Paul Reubens. You saw him on a late night show prior, and you said, this guy's nuts.
Yeah, that was my only frame of reference, was an appearance on Letterman. Yeah, that was it. And of course, he came on as Pee-wee, not as Paul Reubens. And I think he had Letterman doing stuff, and I'm going, wow, how's this going to go? So I didn't know what to expect. When I didn't even know I was going to read with him. That he was, I was going to read with him when I went into audition. In fact, it was just like, okay, you have an audition at Bungalow, blah, 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 Warner Brothers. And I showed up, and there's everybody that was anybody in it. And they said, now let's have you read with Paul. And I thought, oh, that's Pee-wee Herman, Paul Reubens. Okay. So I read with him, and it all just went by really quick. And they said, okay, thanks for coming in. And by the time I got home, they had pretty much hired me to do Francis, and the rest is history.
You guys had great chemistry together too in those scenes. It clicked right away. Usually it's certain films, the chemistry isn't there, but I feel as though you guys were on the same note.
Oh yeah. It was written to be done. Well, all you had to do is just, listen, react, give the other actor what they needed, and you're going to get back what you needed. And we had a good director, so everything just went great. Yeah, just like clockwork. There was as far as this scene with him, and I think it was the first thing I shot was that scene. And then I think one of the last things I shot was at the which I guess is the only other time that character Francis Buxton talked with
the bath scene
was at the drive-in at the end. So
the drive-in, yeah.
So
and the bath scene too. That one, I think the best reaction was when the father character looks at you and he said, "Just look at him." That always makes me laugh. Yeah.
That was Ed Hurley, wonderful old gentleman. I didn't know who he was until after the film we started talking, and he was the voice of Kraft, all their commercials on radio and television for 35 years. Wow, man. That's 35 years, and it was 1985. So, what was he doing before that? I don't know. But anyway, I'm glad he got into films after he retired from voiceover work. I had actually, you'll have a lot of people show up in cosplay outfits or whatever, a lot of Pee-wees or whatever. But at one event, a guy came with his dad, and they were both dressed in the blue jumpsuits. They were dressed as Francis and his father. And I thought, wow, I never expected to see that. anyway, that's it was just one
Crazy.
of those magic little moments that at the same time you go,
At these conventions, you hear about and see all these crazy things that the fans are really dedicated in ways that you would never even know. I'm sure you've probably seen tattoos and stuff. Who knows what you've seen? I've heard all kinds of stories of fans that show up to these conventions.
oh, robotics. So I have R2D2 come by my table. And a lot of stormtroopers, a lot of Batmen and cat women and people as trees and pretty much a lot of Jedis,
Jedi.
a lot of stormtroopers, a lot of usually there's a 2 or 3 at the larger conventions of Darth Vaders. So there's never a dull moment, that's going one way or another in front of your table, usually.
No, it's always chaotic at those conventions. I am curious though, what was it that they gave you for the chewing scene when he gives you the gum? Because your father started screaming and you saw what was pouring out of your mouth. It was all black.
Well, I asked that question. I said, "What is this stuff I'm getting ready to put in my mouth?" And I don't know if it was special effects. It was all about how it read on camera. And I went, "Oh, okay." So when I loaded up my mouth, and then on action, I started chewing like that, and it just kind of dribbled out. And wow, nasty shit, man, nasty. Yeah. And and then they have to clean you up, and it's like staining your flesh and like rubbing it off, and having to remake-up, do the makeup and everything, and then reloading for another take. And but no, it was neither fruit or spearmint, either one. So, and then the first time somebody came back by my table and said, "Want some blackjack gum?" Right. Oh, okay. Yeah, why not? So.
Yeah. I'm surprised they never made, because I know they made other Pee Wee movies and the show went on, of course. I'm surprised they never did a direct sequel to Big Adventure.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, me too. And it was supposed to be, and in fact, I guess they liked me so much as Francis. There was a sequel writer in my contract where if and when they did part 2, it started with it would have been quite lucrative, let's say, but wasn't to be. The relationship between those in charge, I guess, deteriorated, and so there was a switch from studios even, and they decided to go other directions. Like I think the next direction was to the circus. So I went to that opening too, and enjoyed it. I had some strange things happen there. At the after party, of course, being a circus film, there are animals, and Animal Actors of Hollywood had an elephant just outside the event, or outside, the tent where everybody's partying. And I'm standing there with a drink, looking out at this elephant. These 2 guys are riding it, back to back, not back to back, front to back. And they get off, and damn if it wasn't Mark Mothersbaugh from Devo, and oh my God, I'm drawing a blank on his name. Played the father in Back to the Future.
Okay.
Christopher
Lloyd?
Huh?
Is it Christopher Lloyd?
No, Crispin Glover, I think.
Oh, Crispin Glover. Yeah, Crispin Glover. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
And I never thought I would see those 2 together, much less riding an elephant on the Paramount lot. And of course, I'm laughing my ass off, and they stopped by and handed me their card. And of course, it was a card for Animal Actors of Hollywood. So that was a very strange little moment.
Yeah.
From 2 very strange guys,
Yeah. Speaking of Crispin Glover, I'm going to connect you here. Michael J. Fox, Teen Wolf. another classic movie. Shoot, Fat Boy, Shoot. Everyone remembers that scene, and just your reaction when you whistle when Michael J. Fox turns into the wolf. What was your relationship with Michael J. Fox? How was he behind the scenes, and did you kind of remain in contact with him, similar to the Pee Wee over the years, just like Merry Christmas and all that?
Um, it was a good working relationship. You know, he got my humor. You know, so even when we weren't rolling, you know, we were cracking each other up, and and it was kind of like, you know, being the dudes in the locker room. You know, that
Quit
time in
snooping.
our lives. And you know, afterwards, Mikey always had a chilled 6-pack of Moosehead in his trailer, and you know, we did some stuff afterwards, but we really didn't keep up with each other. If I had an audition or something that I shot at the Paramount lot, you know, I would call him and say, hey, you know, I'm going to be there tomorrow, and then you know, we would sync up at lunchtime and go to the commissary and have lunch together. But no, other than just a couple of times, we lost contact with each other over the years, and I did get to talk to him at a party much like this. I don't know if it was a Zoom call or whatever. I went into a room and the camera was set up, and he was on the other end, and talked to him briefly or whatever. It was a 30th anniversary party or whatever, and he was showing up remotely. So that was the last time I got to talk to him. But he's still out there, you know.
Yeah.
Just a very courageous gentleman.
Yeah, he definitely is one of the all-time greats. And I'm curious, for your shot, how many attempts was it for you to finally make that in, or was that just a separate cut where someone was able to score it?
Well, that's the way it was appears in the movie,
Yeah.
because they didn't have a camera on the hoop or the you know, the board.
Yeah.
They did not have a camera on it because the camera was on me. So I did it, you know, threw it or whatever, and nobody was more surprised than me. It went in on the first shot,
Wow.
on the first take, and when I looked around, you know, people are going, "Did he really make that?" You know, so you know, on cut, everybody's just laughing their ass off, going, "I can't believe that just happened." And of course, I'm going, "Well, hell, I can't believe it just happened either." It was just a strange, miraculous moment, because as a basketball player, dude, in reality, at that time or now or any time in my life, I couldn't play my way out of a wet paper sack. So anyway, it was fun.
Yeah. And some fan actually has your jersey, you signed it, and they framed it.
I have jerseys that are available that are reproductions, good quality. I think the People's Republic has one that's number 42, which is Scott. But I noticed there was nothing for Chappie, because people were coming in with T-shirts with 55 on it, wanting me to sign them, and I thought, well, let's test the waters here. And I had a limited amount made, and then ended up having to get another limited amount made. And you can get them, you know, if you want, on Facebook. There is a place called Mark Holton Autographs. And if you go to private signings, you will find it. And yeah, it was weird, you know, when I tested the water with that. I just managed to be in a location that had mannequins. So I said, okay, let's drag all these mannequins up here and put my jersey on them. So I had all my jerseys on different mannequins. They ended up selling out, you know.
Wow.
But there's more out there. I don't know if there'll be more after that though.
Yeah.
So you know,
It's a hot item.
I wouldn't bid on one on eBay, because you're probably gonna end up paying for a lot more than you will if you just go to Mark Holton Autographs. So
Yeah, for all the Teen Wolf fans, go out there, go get the. I may even purchase one because I'm a big Jersey guy. So, I
Oh, I'll autograph it for you, dude.
yeah,
Yeah.
I
Oh, it's
appreciate
already
that. Well,
autographed.
then I'd frame it then because I don't wear
Yeah.
anything that's signed. Yeah,
Yeah, I'll send you a couple of the sports cards, Chubby number 55 with all
yeah,
his stats. And I'll send you some 8x10s of Chubby, shooting the hoops and all that.
that's
And you can
fine.
do a whole little shrine, a whole
Yeah.
a whole little Chub shrine if you want.
That's class. Yeah, Chubbs is one of the all timers, and all your movies that you're in, Little Giants. It's just you're one of those actors from in that era in the 80s where you're in these iconic films, and it seems like we see you all the time because you're so recognizable right away, and especially when you pop up in Leprechaun in the 90s, it's like this guy's been in so many different films and iconic films as that with Pee Wee, Teen Wolf, Little Giants, as I mentioned before. This brings me to Leprechaun, though, with you getting it, because this is with you getting connected with Mark Jones and you actually seeing the script later on that Mark's friend next to your character name.
Yeah. Well, it was actually the casting director's notes or whatever. They had a sheet of people they were seeing that day. Somehow it survived, and somebody was able to get me a copy of it. And it had Mark Holton, Mark's friend. I went, okay. So he had pretty much written written the role with me in mind. Um, I just didn't know who was going to be up against me for the role, but I sailed right through with that one. That's about as close as I've ever gotten to just not having to go through the audition process at all, which I think has happened a couple of times, but not very often.
Yeah.
But there's a book out. I would imagine that you have film students, people that study, film and maybe movies from that time period. And it is called The Making of Leprechaun. And the subtitle is I Want Me Gold. And it pretty much, does a deep dive into Mark Jones and his background and what led to the script and everything that he had to overcome to get one frame of, the first frame actually shot in the can, and the whole casting process, with myself and Jennifer and Robert. It's just it was a book to where I wish I had something like that to read, because it makes me understand things that I didn't understand until I read the book here recently about how the film industry really works behind the scenes and did back then. So I think it would be a nice tool in the toolkit for any would-be people that want to follow that path.
No, I'm definitely gonna have to check out this book, and everyone out there who hasn't had the opportunity of heard of it being out, please do. It's
I'll,
going to be
I'll,
an interesting read.
I'll send you a picture of the cover,
Oh, okay,
so
yes, please
you
do.
can post that up if you want. Sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, 100%. And with this film, because you clicked with Robert and Jennifer right away on the set, you guys had a good chemistry, because a lot of times you guys were just sitting around joking because Warwick was in the makeup chair. You
Yeah.
you told Jennifer that she was going to be big.
Well, we weren't. We were still doing stuff, even when Warwick was in the makeup chair. It was just that he was absent from our group that day. But yeah, in between takes, or setting up the master, and then they get covers or whatever. So it takes a lot of time in between. So when you're brain dead because you've been there for several hours or whatever, you start laughing and you get to know people, and it becomes a little family unit. And then oh, here comes Warwick, and then he's added to the mix, and then all the crew. You're around them all day long, every day. So it was a really neat experience. And I'm going, this is your first movie, huh, Jennifer? She goes, yeah, it's my first movie. I'm thinking, okay. After a couple of days, went by her, and just getting to see her sense of humor, her work ethic, everything about her. She had all the right stuff. And I said, you're going to go places. It wouldn't surprise me in the least to see you as a regular cast member on Saturday Night Live. And she ended up doing better than that for a long time.
Yeah. Friends.
So yeah.
You were right. You predicted it. You spoke it into existence, and the talent was there.
No, spoke it into existence. We have to talk after this is over with.
Yeah.
That's something I don't hear from everybody, but anyway, it was it was a fun time. I still talk with Mark Jones regularly, and his plans or whatever. And he's still out there. He has plans, and they get a little closer all the time. But like I said earlier, a lot of stuff is dependent on other people's timing. But I'm hopeful because whatever happens with Mark, I'm sure he'll find a place for an old character actor that he knows. So we'll see what happens with that.
Yep, stay tuned. And Leprechaun, it's one of the all-time classics right there for horror, especially cult. Everyone watches it. St. Patrick's Day, you're always going to want to tune into that film, and it stands alone by itself because all the sequels are. I'm not a fan of them. I like the original, and this is why Leprechaun Origins was so special. Was because that it was a direct sequel to the original one. It would have been even better even if Warwick reprised his role, because I know he's tired of it. The makeup process is grueling, in which you did learn with getting the makeup for the ghost of Ozzie. So you kind of had your turn of knowing what Warwick was going through all those times.
And he went through 7 of them. Bless his heart. No wonder when 8 came around, Leprechaun Returns, he goes, no. He had a lot of Ewok money.
Yeah, Star Wars.
A lot
Potter
of
money later on.
Galaxies far, far away.
Yeah.
Where he didn't have to, if it was, he had banked it, he put it to work or whatever. But Bogart used to call your go F you money. Because when he was a young actor, he just, God, I got to do this, that, blah, 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 blah. And later on in life, that was one of the things that he would tell people like Richard Burton, say, you got to have it, you got to bank it. Don't let it all get by you or whatever, because pretty soon someone's going to ask you to do something that you don't want to do, and then you can just say, because I don't have to. So that's kind of how I am with life right now.
Yeah.
I don't have to.
No,
it's amazing. I don't have to go out there and beat on doors and live in California. So I'm not going to. So if they want me, we have technology that's putting you and me together in the same room. If you want to see me in the flesh or whatever, send me a ticket. What hotel? When's the meeting? Then get my ass back home while you make your deliberations. But other than that, I just how do you look for work or whatever? I'm going, look, I don't need an agent. I know how to read a SAG contract, and I'm pretty good at dealing with used cars. So I would I would be able to. It's worked out so far. So let's just say that that's the way it's going to go.
You're right about that. With Leprechaun and everything, I know with Jennifer Aniston, there's been these interviews, especially with Warwick Davis, where he says that she doesn't claim or acknowledge the film. What are your thoughts on just hearing that, if that's even true?
I can kind of see where she's coming from. It was her first film. It wasn't something that at the time she was really proud of for some reason. And of course, she had to watch herself and approve of her own job. So it could be a little bit of that, but over time, I mean, come on, man, we're 30-something years in. That was your first film. If it hadn't been that for that film, would your life have gone the direction that it did? Would your career have become meteoric? God bless her, whatever. The only time I see her now is if I'm in Walmart. I look up and there's one of her big ads for cosmetic or something like that. That's I can't answer. You would have to ask her that.
Yeah. Well, down the road, I will. I'll speak that into existence. But because I think horror is an important genre because you see the careers that it's made. Because a lot of big time actors start out in it, and if you don't start out in it and you just stay in it, you become synonymous with the genre. Either way, it's a great genre.
Oh, you could make one hell of a list starting with, like Jack Nicholson
Yeah.
and Michael Landon in some really bad B films from way back there. But one of the descriptions of Leprechaun that I found interesting was that it's the last 80s horror film made in the 90s.
I agree.
Okay, yeah, I get that. So it was a little, they were just different after that. A lot of people, everything goes back. Well, have you seen the original this and have the original that? And they were just different films. Yes, somebody else that just had to stop doing it because the makeup was just killing her. What it was Robert Englund. You put yourself through that many hours day in and day out, and if you're on a schedule and you don't want to take time off to be sick and you get sick, you just work through it. So it can really suck. So I understand, these guys, they get to that point. I don't understand Michael J. Fox though, because that was one of his excuses. Well, that's why I didn't do Teen Wolf 2 was the makeup. Oh, come on now. It was a stunt man doing the makeup. He had a couple of days where he was in the makeup chair for a little bit, but that doesn't fly with me, Michael, if you happen to see this. but it's it's like anything else. You can't really answer for them, but
No.
at least give me an honest, truthful answer. It's like I was too big by that time. I had drunk from the well of Spielberg or whatever, however you want to put it. So
Yeah.
But I always save a backward glance for where you came from and the people that you meet along the way, or you at some point in your life might be sorry that you didn't.
And it just explains, the wholesome person that you are, and just seeing how you treat all your fans, and just you're grateful for every step of the way. And I've even heard about your experiences with, I know people know you for your starring roles, Gacy, and just your experience on that set where the director was, he was abusive. I'll put it that way with the matches. I heard the whole story. So along the way, then he heard what you said and breaking it down. You said water under the bridge and all that. So you've gone through the top points in the industry, and then you've had some rough experiences with that. But at the end of the day, you still are a wholesome person no matter what.
Yeah, I don't have any grudges that I hold against anybody, and hope nobody, has anything that they carried around for years without me knowing about. But life's too short to let a day go by without forgiving somebody, because it's all about forgiveness. There's two great commandments. One is to love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and the second that falls right after it, and you'll just do it if you do the first, is to treat other people the way you wish to be treated. And if you just live by those two things alone and stick to it, then you'll be better off. And it doesn't matter what point you are in your life, if you'll just consciously try to live your life that way, things get better.
Yeah,
they do.
They do.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you this, Mark, because it's my goal now, especially with everything going on with the writer's strike and the actors potentially joining in on it, because I really want to help the actors out on my platform. Just what are your thoughts on the whole writer's strike right now and all the struggling actors, because it's a difficult time to get work? What are your thoughts on that? And when do you think there's going to be a resolution to all this?
Well, the whole streaming, and I think there was a lot of this stuff happened so quickly that there really wasn't a lot in place that should have been. Of course, you can't predict what's going to happen, but it was just it was time for an industry that just bloomed and exploded pretty much overnight in the grand scheme of things, and they're addressing that. And I don't know if they're going to go too far with it as far as the Screen Actors Guild goes, or if they're just we'll see what happens. Of course, it's selfishly it's to my advantage, because see here, in just a matter of days, I will start drawing my Screen Actors Guild pension, and anything that's out there streaming now will, of course, be included in that. So I wish them all the luck in the world. Obviously, the writers, I think they pretty much got that. They're going to get what they wanted. But it'll all be over before we know it. Everything will be back to normal, just in time for the communist Chinese to nuke us. On a happier note.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Mark, man, I want to thank you for coming on the show. Is there anything else you want to let your fans know out there? You got the stream on the way coming out this fall. You mentioned the conventions earlier and the events that you have on the way as far as screenings. Anything else, man?
Not really. I don't know when you're going to play this, and a lot of stuff that I could say that I would like to say would date this.
This Wednesday. I'm going to drop it this Wednesday.
Well, I know, but I mean, in the future or whatever. But so okay, yeah, I'll just go ahead and say I saw night before last. I went to a theater, which is rare for me, and watched Sound of Freedom, and it's a film that you need to go and watch, and it's taken on a life of its own, and rightfully so. And the guy from Rolling Stone that panned the movie, if you read between the lines there, the guy's just a piece of shit as far as I'm concerned. And that's the nicest thing I can say about the guy that wrote that review, because the movie is actually a very good movie. There's some good, solid acting. A very difficult acting, from everybody in the cast. I mean, everybody. It's an A film, and after you see it, you see how you have a chance to pay it forward. People that don't have, that need a 2-for-1 or whatever to see it, that can't afford it or whatever, you can pay it forward and actually buy tickets for people if you want. Because they don't have the firepower but they took Indiana Jones out opening night with about half the theaters. So this thing's got legs, and it's got a life of its own. And if you'll just look into it and give it a chance, I think it's something that everybody needs to know about, especially if you are a father or a mother. So I'll just leave it at that.
We'll leave it at that. Mark Holton, thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate it, and sharing all your history and all the acting work that you've done throughout the decades, man. I appreciate it. And you always giving back to your fans, and just everything that you have on the way too. I look forward to seeing stream. It's going to be good.
Well, thank you for asking me. I was quite impressed with your story. and how you started and where you are with it now. And I wish you all the best. You know, God bless this enterprise and guide you and put you where you need to be. And just be patient. You know, good things happen to good people, brother.
That's right. Mark Holton, man, I appreciate that. It means a lot. You're always welcome on the show. Anytime that you have anything that you want to promote, yeah, you're always welcome.
Oh, you've done it now. You're gonna rue the day. You go, oh, God, why did I say that? No. Well, you know, it might happen. There might be something really, really earth shattering. Hey, I did come on.
Yeah.
Here's what happened. So yeah, if that happens, then I'll absolutely. Thank you so much. I will take you up on that, man.
Of course, man. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Yes. And until the next time, this Wednesday, this will be dropping. So you'll see the promo and it'll be playing live on my station and everything. So
okay. I'll send you some pictures.
Yeah, send me the picture.
And a lead east. I'll just you know what? I don't have your send me your phone number or I'll send you mine. Either way. And that way we can hook up and we can it would be a lot easier than to do it through Instagram, because
absolutely
if you're as buried as I am, then my God, you know, it's like, God, when was that? It was the day before yesterday. And you're scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. Oh, you know, I'm on an iPhone 10 trying to find, there's Mad Max. So yeah, let's just hook up and I'll send you what you need, and you can ask away or let me know what's going on with your life, with your, you know, your conquests. So
yeah.
All right, talk to you then, man.
All right, Mark. I'll talk to you soon. All right.
Okay.
All right, man. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.